Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question for a second. When was the last time you looked at your bank account and actually felt okay about it? Not stressed, not that quiet panic that creeps in around the 20th of the month, just okay. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. And here's the thing that makes this even more confusing. You have a job, maybe even a decent one. Maybe you've gotten raises. Maybe by all outside appearances, you're doing fine. Your friends think you're doing fine. Your family thinks you're doing fine. But you know something's off. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Because the problem you have is not what most people think it is. And once I explain it, I promise it's going to feel like someone finally put words to something you've been feeling for years. So let's start with something real. There's this pattern that almost nobody talks about, and it happens to some of the smartest, hardest working people out there. People who did everything right. Got the education, got the job, got the salary. And yet every single month, money just disappears. And the most frustrating part, the more they earn, the more they spend. And the cycle never breaks. Economists have a name for this. They call it lifestyle inflation. But I don't love that term because it sounds like something that happens to irresponsible people. And that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about you, someone who is genuinely trying.
Here's what actually happens. When your income goes up, your baseline shifts. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. The apartment you live in gets a little nicer. Not because you're being reckless, but because, well, you can afford it now. The car upgrade makes sense. The slightly better phone. The gym with the nicer facilities. The takeout instead of cooking because you work long hours and you deserve a break. None of these decisions feel wrong in the moment. Every single one of them feels completely justified. But here's what's happening underneath all of it. Your financial margin is shrinking. And most people don't even know what financial margin is, let alone that they're losing it.
Let me explain margin to you the way I wish someone had explained it to me. Imagine your income is a cup of water, and your expenses are everything that drinks from that cup throughout the month. Now, margin is the space between where the water level sits and the top of the cup. When you have margin, you have room. If something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, a month where things just cost more, your cup doesn't overflow. You handle it. You breathe. When you have no margin, every single unexpected thing is a crisis. Not because you're bad with money, but because there's no space left in the cup. And what most people don't realize is that lifestyle inflation doesn't just spend your money, it drinks your margin. Slowly, consistently, every single month. So you're not broke because you earn too little. You're tight because your life has quietly expanded to consume everything you earn, and then just a little bit more.
Now, here's where it gets psychological, and this is the part I really want you to hear. Our brains are wired, genuinely wired to normalize whatever standard of living we're currently at. It's called hedonic adaptation. It's the reason a raise feels amazing for about 3 weeks, and then it just feels like your new normal. The car that excited you 6 months ago, you don't even notice it anymore. The apartment that felt like a luxury, now it just feels like home. The salary that felt like freedom, now it barely feels like enough. This isn't a character flaw. This is literally how human brains work. We adapt, we normalize, and then we want a little more. The problem is that modern life is specifically designed to use this against you. Every advertisement, every social media post, every limited time offer, they are engineered to show you a version of your life that's just slightly better than the one you have right now. Just out of reach. Just one upgrade away. And so you upgrade. And then there's a new version of just out of reach. And the cycle continues.
So let me give you a real example, not a hypothetical, something that actually happens to real people all the time. Say someone starts their career earning around $30,000 a year. They're careful, they manage fine, they even save a little. Then they get a promotion. They're at $50,000. Life gets easier for a moment. But the apartment gets better, the social life gets more expensive, maybe they start traveling. By the end of the year, $50,000 feels tight. Then 65, then 80. And somehow at every level, there's still this low-grade financial anxiety that just never goes away. This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. In your own life, in people around you, everywhere. The salary was never the problem. The structure was.
Okay, so now you're probably wondering what actually fixes this. And I want to be honest with you. The answer is not a budget spreadsheet. It's not a savings app. It's not cutting your coffee. Those things can help, but they treat the symptom, not the root. The root is that your financial life has no intentional margin built into it. You're operating at capacity. And when you operate at capacity, one small thing going wrong creates stress that feels completely disproportionate to the situation. Because it is. Because there's no buffer. The first thing you need to do is make margin non-negotiable, not optional. Not I'll save what's left at the end of the month, because what's left at the end of the month is always zero. Always.
The shift is this. You pay your future self first, before the apartment gets its money, before the subscriptions, before the weekend plans. A fixed, decided amount moves out of your account on the day you get paid. It doesn't live where you can see it. It doesn't feel available, because it isn't. This single change, treating savings as a fixed expense rather than a leftover, is the thing that separates people who always feel tight from people who don't. Not the income, the structure. The second thing, and this one is uncomfortable, is that you need to audit your non-negotiables. Most people have a list of expenses in their head that they've labeled as absolutely necessary, things they would never cut. But if you actually look at that list honestly, a lot of those things were choices that at some point got promoted to necessities without you even noticing. I'm not saying downgrade your life dramatically. I'm saying look at the list with fresh eyes. Ask yourself, if I was starting from scratch, would I choose this again? And would I choose it at this price?
Some things you'll say yes immediately. Great, those stay. But some things, you'll realize you're paying for a version of your life you're not even living anymore. The third thing is the one that takes the longest, but matters the most. You need to make peace with not upgrading. And I know how that sounds. It sounds like settling, but it's actually the opposite. Because the upgrade cycle, it never ends. There is always a newer version, a better option, a more comfortable choice just slightly beyond where you are. The people who feel calm about money, genuinely calm, not just acting calm, are not the people with the most. They're the people who stopped needing more in order to feel okay. They built a life they actually like, and then they stopped expanding it automatically every time their income grew. They let the margin accumulate. And that margin, over time, becomes the thing that gives you options. Real options. Not, I can afford this coffee options, but I don't have to take that job I hate options. I can take a month off if I need to options. An emergency is annoying, but not devastating options. That's what financial freedom actually looks like. Not a number, a feeling of having room. So let me bring this back to where we started. If you've been feeling financially tight despite earning a decent income, I want you to know, you are not doing it wrong. You are experiencing something that is incredibly common, incredibly predictable, and almost completely invisible until someone points it out. The salary didn't fail you. The structure around the salary was never built to give you room.
And the good news is, structure is something you can change. Not overnight, not without some discomfort, but you can change it. Start small. Protect one small piece of margin. Automate it, and then just leave it alone. Let it sit, let it grow, and watch, slowly over time, how a little bit of breathing room changes how you feel about everything. Because money is not just math. It never was. It's the thing that sits underneath your decisions, your stress levels, your relationship quality, your willingness to take risks and try new things. When you feel financially squeezed, that feeling shows up everywhere in your life, whether you connect it to money or not. And when you have room, when your cup isn't constantly full to the brim, everything gets a little easier, a little quieter, a little more like what you actually wanted when you started working this hard in the first place.
That's what this channel is about. Not get rich quick, not 6 figures in 6 months, just real, honest conversations about how money actually works in real people's lives and what you can do starting today to make yours feel a little less like a trap and a little more like a tool. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, you already know what to do. And I'll see you in the next one.